Hello and welcome back to Warcraft Daily for today the 6th of March 2014. So in today's news we only really have one thing, and that is some new level 100 hunter talents, of course not final. Basically not a massive news day, so today's episode is really just going to be a bunch of blue tweets and then a Q&A in disguise as Warcraft Daily. I guess the one thing that's worth mentioning at the top of the show is that today's next video is going to be a little bit of a quick start guide for getting into PvP Season 15. Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of PvE players who are maybe not so interested in that. All I would say is that I'm a PvE player, and this is the first PvP season that I've really got myself into, and damn, I'm having a lot of fun, actually, on my warrior. So, yeah, do give it a shot. You can't lose anything, and it's definitely worth your time. Alright, let's get into the news itself. So, there was a bunch of new Warlords of Draenor gameplay videos posted from the recent press event that happened in San Francisco and Versailles, and Korea, of course. Not really a great deal of interesting stuff, but one of them does show some hunter talents, so I'm going to cover them. First of all, we have one called Focusing Shot. This is a 2.5 second cast and it replaces Steady and Cobra Shot. This does 100% weapon damage, so it's not really a DPS increase, but what it does do is restore 75 focus. And to those of you who are not hunters, focus is a little bit like energy for rogues or something like that. Then there's another one called Flaming Shots, and this will cause you to light your auto shots on fire to do 80% fire damage. I don't know if that's like 80% additional, or it does 20% less damage overall, but it happens to be fire, or if it's damage over time. We just need to see. And then finally, there is a talent called Versatility, which increases your pet's combat experience damage up to 70%, and then gives it a number of pet abilities from other talent trees. Basically, it's a super pet. Now, this is actually rather interesting. There was a talent that I really liked the look of. I forget the name of it, but basically, it meant that you did more damage when you didn't have a pet active, so it turned the hunter into a ranger. I actually thought that was very interesting, and I think if they were to do it right, it would have been one of those examples of a really transformative talent that really just kind of changes how the class is played. Honestly, I'm not particularly keen on Flaming Shots. I think that's just a little bit too passive. Versatility, though, can definitely have some gameplay implications for people using pets, which I think is nice, and Focusing Shot is definitely a very different playstyle. A lot of Arcane Shot spam, I'd have to imagine, if you're getting that much focus. Of course, I don't know how the class will play out, but it certainly is interesting, and I'm perhaps just a little bit sad that the no pet talent seems to be absent. But anyway, it's kind of interesting, and hopefully these talents will turn out to be quite good. I do like a lot of the kind of mantra going into these level 100 talents, with augmenting how your class currently plays. It's a great way to add some more gameplay depth to existing mechanics that players understand, which means that they should appreciate the changes. And of course it doesn't add to button bloat or anything like that, so overall, it's a pretty good way of doing things. Let's just hope it all gets pulled off right. And then next, they had just posted some free character transfers and connected realms for the European Union servers. Look, I'm just going to post some screenshots. I don't really think it's needed to go over all of them. Okay, so let's move on to the tweets. And these are just from Watcher and Talinka. So first of all, from Watcher, he said that there were actually some really positive aspects to the early Cataclysm healing model, but the main issue is that it was just too easy to be left without mana and feeling helpless. Now, this does sort of bring on a broader topic, and it's the idea of decisions and how should these game decisions be made. As Sid Meier said, a game is really just a flow of interesting decisions, and I think that this Cataclysm healing model was certainly one of them. You had to be very mana efficient. The correct spell had to be used at the correct time, or else you'd simply run out of mana and everyone would die. It was definitely harder, and it was definitely a lot more punishing. I think that the positive gameplay that it garnered was probably really worthwhile, but I think that ultimately, yeah, Watcher's right, it probably did just result in a lot of people being out of mana and feeling completely helpless. Which isn't perhaps the best thing to do. I think it's okay that a bad healer should be left without mana and feeling helpless, because if you just sit there spamming your main burn, then you're not playing your class right. But perhaps the kind of ceiling on that was just a little bit too low. Not particularly sure, but I think it did foster a lot of interesting decision making. I'm not really too sure what the healing model is like now. I do remember I healed a little bit in Wrath of the Lich King. Honestly, not really my cup of tea, so I'd like to hear what people think. But I do remember in Wrath of the Lich King, my main thing that I was doing in healing, because honestly, you had enough mana to do you, but it was all just about choosing the right spell for each player to keep them alive. I was playing a paladin, so it was very single target focused, meaning that I really did just have to think, okay, if I don't use a quick spell now, this person could die, I can flashlight this guy. It was very snappy, and there's lots of decisions there, and I did enjoy that aspect of healing. So, yeah, if you are a healer, what do you think of the Cataclysm model, and more importantly, how do you think, like, healing is at the minute? I suppose a lot of people, especially Blizzard people, including Watcher himself, have said that there's perhaps an overprevalence of smart heals, and that actually takes away some decision making. And I suppose by definition that is what a smart heal does. Still though, if you are a healer, let me know what you think of the current healing model. I honestly would like to be a little bit more informed about healing, because it's not a thing I know a great deal about. Okay, so the next thing that Watcher said was that there are no plans on making Garrosh the Garrosh Feat of Strength achievement unavailable until patch 6.0, and there are also no planned nerfs for Garrosh until 6.0. Overall, I think that's really good, and it's probably just worth reciprocating his tweet here, because it's good that people know that. All in all, you'll probably have maybe 4 months, maybe 5, to kill Garrosh, so I think that honestly, the people who want that Feat of Strength achievement will probably be able to get it. It also means that you have about 5 months worth of raid lockouts to get your heirloom weapon, which honestly I still need to do, so yeah, that'll be for some fun stuff. Next, there are a few tweets from Halinka. First of all, he said that Ashran will be using some new tech. Basically, it's going to be instants, but it won't feel like it, i.e. no load screens and things like that. And I suppose for this instance idea, they are going to be, I guess, you won't be zoned into a specific instance like as soon as you enter Ashram, because that's it's very noticeable. I think that they'll just like have some way of instancing you in beforehand, or at least determining what instance you go into so that it seems really smooth. And that's just that's speculation, that's what I think. Now, one interesting thing to say here is no load screens. Now, the ESO beta has actually had its NDA released or lifted, so I can talk a little bit about it. First of all, my impressions are not very good. But that's probably a video for another day. What I do want to say though, is that game is absolutely loaded with load screens. So damn many of them. And it's funny, because having played World of Warcraft for so long, and really not having that many load screens, I'm just kind of spoiled. And yeah, okay, there's a load screen when you zone into something, or, I don't know, you take a portal, go into an instance, but when you're just going around the overworld, no load screens. I think it's the equivalent, like, say, one of those times when during a quest you go into a cave, right? Well, in Elder Scrolls Online, that cave would be behind a load screen, and okay, fair enough, the world is maybe a little bit more detailed, maybe they can't load in as many assets at the same time because they're a little bit more taxing on computer hardware, but what matters in games is the gameplay, and it just is really jarring and annoying. So well done, World of Warcraft. This is really just an opportunity to say that this is one of the areas where WoW shines, and I really do like it, so yeah, Ashran, you're good. And I think another important thing is they really do want to make Ashran feel like a part of Draenor and not just a battleground that's off in some zone, just that it happens to be in World Zone. And a really key part of that is going to be having no load screens and a completely seamless transition. It's just really nice to hear that they are focusing on that. Okay, so next, Link has said the Battleground Honor increases will not be applied until next week. That's in relation to the changes that I talked about a few episodes ago, something like that. And then finally, Halinka said that the Justice Point to Honor conversion was originally to provide people with a Justice Point outlet. He isn't really sure if that's serving its purpose at the minute. And I've got to agree, Justice Points do seem rather redundant. Okay, yeah, sure, you can rather effectively get quite a lot of honor from them, but it's a bizarre means to an end if you want to get honor, having to go into dungeons and grind them all out. So yeah, very strange, and I think that the cleaning up of currency systems in Warlords should hopefully remove little just oddities like this and make an overall more polished and better executed system. Alright, so let's move into some Q&A topics. The first one is from the venerable YOLO Blazing Swag Monster, who said, "Yo, what are your plans for the beta?" Well, I'm going to assume you mean the Warlords of Draenor beta, and my plans, assuming I get in, are to basically do Total Biscuit style sort of coverage, where I really do go into depth in everything. I try to find as much, like, just cool shit to show you guys, really. Now, one thing that's worth saying is that that was back in 2011, and in terms of YouTube, standards have changed. Standards have actually increased quite a bit, and now, you have people that are doing things like, I don't know, what I do with Warcraft Daily, where I stick in an overlay and have a little menu bar so people can find what they want easily, and little editing quirks and things like that. So hopefully I'll try to be upping the quality. That is, of course, if TB was to do that stuff today, I'm sure he would have a similar or greater increase in quality. It's more just a reflection of the change in time. But if you imagine just a kind of merger of the way that I currently do things with just the idea of completely exhaustive showing the awesome stuff in an expansion, I'm not really too keen on doing a big let's play through it. And maybe if there's a cool zone or a cool quest line, I'll do that as a video, but I don't think it really provides much value to people just having, hey, Warlords of Draenor beta let's play part 372.8. I don't think that really provides much value to the viewer, so I'll probably skip out on that. Okay, so next we have a question from Daniel B, who says, what do I think the new Warlords of Draenor leveling greens will be like? Will they be better than rating gear? Will it be better than flex, normal, heroics, or worse? Well, I'd say that it'll start off being a little bit worse than flex, and then by the time you get to level 93, you will be replacing a few of your worst raid sets, or raid pieces, and honestly, by the time you hit level 95, maybe you'll have your raid weapon, but that should be about it. And I think that's definitely the right way to go. One of the nice things about the a new expansion is it's out with the old, in with the new. It's a complete clean of the slate, and I think that's absolutely the best way to do it. Okay, so next we have a question from Ethan Hollis, and he said, considering how many level 90 players will possibly come into the game via the boost, how long do I think the wait time for a leveling dungeon will be? He said that he thinks that 30 minutes is too long, and he's not really just too sure what things will play out like. Well, honestly, I don't think there'll be much of an effect. The level 90 boost is a... Well, okay, everyone is getting one for free. So perhaps initially for a few week period, maybe the average wait time will go up a little bit. But I think that overall it will probably normalize because, well, at the end of the day, I don't think there's a great deal of people that are going to pay $60, and honestly, $60 is, as Blizzard said, not really a profit maximizing move, and it does ensure that leveling still has its value. Personally, I would level a character rather than pay $60 to boost one up, and I think the majority of players are going to come to that same conclusion. So honestly, the issues for leveling, or for the dungeons, whatever, they'll be fine. Leveling dungeons should be grand. And yeah, there'll be more level 90 characters that are running around at max level. So in terms of max level dungeon queues, I think they'll probably stay in and around the same, because sure, there'll be new characters, but honestly, they're probably just duplicate characters for players. And actually, because you start off with item level 483 gear, there won't be any point in going into heroic dungeons or anything like that, so I don't think it'll have really much of an effect at all on dungeon wait times. And then next, Nihilus Saran asks a question. He said, what will monk gear look like post Draenor? Well, that's really just a shortening down of his question, but that's the essence of it. Interesting idea, actually, or interesting question. Because the monk was very much based off the sort of Chinese Pandaren theme. And now that we've lost that theme, what the hell is a monk going to look like? Well, I think the good news is that immediately for Warlords of Draenor, I think they can still make monk gear that kind of works. One of those Chinese themes, I think, is that things sort of have an artistry with the world that they're inside. It comes off across in a lot of traditional Chinese architecture, and I think it does as well in some of the the leveling up gear. I don't know, stuff just seems to be very much designed with the world around it in mind. Now, with Draenor being, so OMG savage brutal, well, the gear is going to reflect that, and I think that could actually work out quite well on a monk. The thing is, though, if we were going to go back into space, into, I don't know, some sort of Burning Legion expansion where we're getting demon gear, I have no idea how they're going to make that look well on a monk. At least in a way that fits in with the lore, but honestly, I think that they won't restrain themselves to gear sets that have to fit in with the lore. And yeah, we'll take one more question. It is from a pacifist Wookiee, who says, do you think that Daneth Trollbane will play a role for the Alliance in Warlords of Draenor due to his past experiences with the orcs on Draenor? Well, that's an interesting one, actually. I think it would be really cool to see him. Hopefully he appears, and I think that probably Blizzard have maybe said if he will be there or not, and I've just missed it because it seems like the sort of question someone would ask. But yeah, I think he should be there. It would make sense, and I think he'd be a rather cool advisor. It would also be interesting having the idea of both the Draenor Horde for our timeline and the Iron Horde being there, and sort of Daenith, telling the difference between them in a way. I don't mean that in terms of his perception, but he was fighting the Horde for so long, he's been fighting orcs for so long. It'll just be interesting to see how he deals with the different factions, if he wants to ever kind of ally up with the other, Azeroth Horde on Draenor. I think there could be interesting little sort of plot hooks in there. So anyway, that is it for today's show. Apologies for it not particularly being full of news. There just wasn't any, so that's the thing. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. You can support the channel via my social media links and Patreon page if you wish. I very much appreciate it. And with that, I will see you next time.